Welcome back to this week's edition of the Cart Barn Podcast. I'm Chris Limley, joined by Greg DeWalt, and we thank you so much for tuning in. Greg, what's going on in your world these days?
You know what's interesting is it's like 35 degrees outside right now, but I was watching the Corn Ferry Tour replay last night on Golf Channel, and Sony Open begins the PGA Tour this week. The countdown to the Masters has begun, and another sure way you know golf season's on the horizon is the PGA show, merchandise show down in Orlando next week. I'm making my annual sojourn down to it, and I'll be there for a couple days looking at new products, hitting some new clubs, just hanging out. It's a crazy big show. I mean, if you ever get the chance to go, it's incredible. Everybody, all the major manufacturers are there. I mean, stuff you don't even think about on golf courses is reps are there, signs, memorabilia, new products. It's just a crazy big show. Everybody walking around videoing and talking about it, but it's a sure sign that golf season is upon us.
Yeah, I've never been. It's a goal of mine for this next year for the Cart Barn to have a presence there in addition to the other endeavors that you've got going on that take you there. But I'm hoping we're able to make it.
It's really an experience. I mean, it's overwhelming the first one or two you go to because it's at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, which is a huge entity, and it just goes on, and you wouldn't believe how many apparel companies show up there, and I'm talking mom and pop shops to Peter Millar, Sunday Swag. Everybody's there. So, and it's crazy who you see on the floor. Last year Grant Horvat was down there in the line to meet him and say hello was long, and I've seen Paige Sporanic down there. Just everybody's there.
Well, let's get into this week's episode. Today's guest has lived the tour golf for a long time, and we're talking about Damon Green. He played on the tour, had many tour wins, then he transitioned into caddying and spent some time caddying for Jimmy Green, who from Mobile, the state of Alabama, and he was also on the bag for Zach Johnson, who won the Masters. And gosh, Damon just gave us a perspective you don't hear every day. What are players thinking when it's tight, and what a caddy's actually doing, help in those moments. And I thought it was a really good interview, and I think you'll enjoy it. The one thing that you may be thinking, Damon, that name's familiar. Well, he's most noted for flapping his arms like a bird when his player makes a birdie or an eagle. So if you're thinking, who is this Damon Green? That's the signature move.
Yeah, it was a fun conversation. He had some good stories to tell, and like you said, mentioned his insight into the tour as a player and as a caddy, and how caddying has evolved over the past few decades. It's no longer just show up, shut up, keep up. It's a real team effort out there on the course, and he goes into that in detail. So why don't we just go ahead and jump on in this week with Damon Green.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of the Cart Barn. Today's guest is someone you're going to know and enjoy a lot, Damon Green, who's a longtime player and caddy on the PGA Tour. Damon, welcome to the Cart Barn.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Look forward to it.
Damon, welcome. Excited to hear you tell some stories about your playing days, and also a lot of people are going to know you more from your caddying days with some of the tour's top names, including Zach Johnson. Why don't you just kind of start, give us a little bit of your background, how you got into golf, and where you grew up?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. It's lower Alabama. We're going to give it the redneck Riviera, we used to call it. And, even though we're in Florida, we still kind of claim you guys from Alabama. And I grew up there and started playing golf, I think, when I was about 10 or 12. Dad used to take us out to a field and give us a baseball glove and have us catch his balls. He was hitting range balls at us. And every now and then he'd let us hit a few, and so just kind of started playing from there, and played a little junior events around Pensacola. I wasn't very good at all, but I just loved the game, and just wanted to get better at it, So I played in high school, and went to Pensacola Junior College, played a little bit there, moved to Orlando. My sister lived at Bay Hill. She said, "Why don't you come down here and go to school and play golf down here at Valencia Community College?" And I'm like, "Well, heck yeah, I can go live at Bay Hill in this mansion and go to junior college and play golf. How can you beat that, right?"
Right.
Mhm.
So went down there, did that, and kept getting better and better and better, and eventually got a scholarship to Centenary College in Shreveport, Louisiana. Played there for 2 years, and when I got finished and graduated, my sister said, "Why don't you come back down here and live with us in Orlando and play the mini tours?" And that's kind of how the whole pro career started. I'd won the Pensacola Country Club championship in like '85, and then I won the citywide championship, all the club champs in Pensacola, and then I went to Mobile and I won the Mobile Masters. It was a big, Budweiser Masters. I don't know if y'all remember that from way back.
Seems like I do, yeah.
I beat a local legend, Johnny Brown, coming down the stretch. Jimmy Green was in the field, but he was about 14. And so I won those three tournaments, and I was like, maybe I could keep getting better and try pro golf. And I went back and told my club pro at Pensacola Country Club, I think I'm going to turn pro and go play on the mini tours. And he goes, "Damon, those guys will eat you alive down there. You got no chance." So that put a little more fuel under my fire, and I only ended up winning 80-something mini tour events. So I guess either he was wrong or I was wrong. I don't know. I never got on the big tour, so maybe he ended up being right. I don't know.
What is the difference between winning a bunch of mini tour events and actually getting out on the tour?
That's a good question. I think I had kind of a goofy swing, and I was very self-conscious about it, but it was effective, right? I mean, but for some reason, mentally, I couldn't stand people watching me. And, I don't know if that had something to do with it or what, but, our mini tour events were 2 days. They were like a birdie shootout where you had to make a lot of birdies. And I think tour golf is way different. We may only shoot at 6 or 7 pins around. We're kind of short. I mean, safe, hitting to the safe side of the greens, and two putting, and I think the mini tour mentality had you more aggressive, and a lot of times we don't do that on tour. So I can't put my finger on exactly what it was, but I missed my card by one shot in '94 finals at Greenleaf. Missed like a 3-foot putt on the last hole, and I still have memories about it, and they're nightmares actually. And then the next year I made it back to the finals, and I shot like 68, 67, 69 the first 3 rounds, and I was in pretty good shape. And I shot 73, 73, kind of got on the borderline again, and I decided the last day I didn't want to miss by one. I was either going to make it or I wasn't going to, try to limp in basically. And shot 33 on the front 9 to get in good shape, and shot 40 on the back 9 and missed by 4. So it felt better.
Oh, me.
So anyway, I had 2 years on the Nike tour. Jimmy and I played together on the Nike tour. I played with a lot of, Stuart Sinks, and he beat me in Denver on the back 9 holes, last 9 holes going down the stretch. A lot of the Alabama connections. So, I got to meet a lot of people and a lot of players, and So when my playing career was over, it kind of led into caddying.
Tell us a little bit about any experiences on the mini tours. I mean, you're out there just kind of grinding away, like you said, 2-day tournaments. And there's a lot of good sticks on those mini tours.
Oh yeah, I've got some of the scoreboards from a few of those events, and the names, you look down, are like very impressive. It's just like glorified gambling. Basically, you come in, you put your money up, a guy takes a percentage of it, and you're playing for your own money. So, but I mean, it's competition, and you need competition to get better. And I just, I played them for so long. Winning 80-something events isn't something to be proud of. That means you weren't good enough to get on tour, but you're good enough to win mini tour events. So it was, it's kind of I don't know.
What was your average?
Sorry.
What was your average payday when you won a tournament? $5,000, $6,000?
I think that the biggest ones I ever won was $7,000, and that was a lot of money back then. Felt like anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them we had 2,000. It was either, some one dayers were 1,000. So it was. But the entries were reasonable, not like they are now, where they're charging at 1,500, and 1,800, and it's we could put up 250 and win $7,000, and I played the Space Coast Tour mainly. J.C. Goosey, who played the tour forever, ran it, and if we didn't have money, he'd kind of help you out a little bit. And he informed us that you're playing for second place this week. I'm the leading money winner every week. Y'all are playing for second. Knew up front that Goosey was making all the money, but he still, he was very fair, and he helped us out if we needed. So it was really good.
That's pretty good.
He wasn't doing it out of the kindness of his heart.
No, it wasn't for love of the game. No.
What years did you play on the Nike tour?
I played 1995, 1996.
Okay. So you played the
Huntsville and
Cherokee Ridge, yeah.
Yeah, Cherokee Ridge, which is, Jimmy's one of the part owners up there, so it's kind of a full circle. And my son played at Central Alabama, and they had a bunch of tournaments up at Cherokee Ridge, so we went up and watched him play as much as we could, and brought back some fond memories of the days back then.
What do you think of Cherokee Ridge as a golf course?
Well, they changed some of the layout, I guess, since we played. But it was very challenging, I remember back then, and it's still pretty challenging watching the kids play out there. So there's a mountain golf. I call it mountain. I'm from Florida, so every hill's a mountain to me. It's tough.
Yeah.
Even I caddied this week in Mobile at the LPGA finals, and I had a tough time reading those greens just because of the hills and ironically, that's where I caddied my first event for Jimmy in 98 or 99. I was studying to get my insurance license, and Jimmy called up and said, "Hey man, why don't you come caddy for me up here in Mobile at the Nike Tour Championship? I need to finish in the top 5 to get my tour card." And I'm like, "Sure. I mean, I'm studying for my license. I can come up and see mom and dad in Pensacola." So I went up there and we finished 3rd, and Jimmy got his tour card, and he said, "Why don't you just come caddy for me next year on tour?" And I'm like, "That sounds a lot better than selling insurance." So I took off, and that's how my whole caddy career kind of started.
That's really, I mean, I assume you never thought you were going to have a career in caddying.
No, not at all. No, I wanted to try to be a player, but I love golf and I love being around it. I love the competition, and that's the next best thing, right? If you're not hitting, you can be out there in the ropes, and no pressure on you with those 3 or 4 footers anymore. So it's kind of nice.
So how was that first year with caddying for Jimmy?
It was great. Our first event was in Hawaii. I'll never forget. Joy, my wife, was out there. Kelly, his wife, was out there. We're in Hawaii. And we had a really good time just touring the island, seeing everything. And then the golf, the last hole on round 4, Jimmy hit his second shot in the bunker on 18, hold the bunker shot for eagle. And Jimmy finished top 10, and he made 75,000, and I made about $7,500 my very first time caddying in Hawaii. So I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. And,
Yeah, giddy up.
yeah, giddy up, get her on. And we started off really good, and Jimmy didn't play great the rest of the year, and we were at tour school uh, trying to get his card back, and I'm pretty sure he did. But while we were there, Scott Hope called me up and asked me to caddy for him the following year. And I'm like, I'm caddying for Jimmy at tour school, man. Like, give me a break. And, he was like, well, think about it and let me know. And I got off the phone and told Jim, he's like, dude, you got to go. I like you as a caddy. We're good buzz, but you got an opportunity here to take. And, this is a business decision. It's nothing personal. And I had to take it. And I worked 4 years for Scott Hoke, and, very successful with him. A lot of top tens, not very many wins. I think I had 2 wins with him, but, he was an ATM machine, I called him. He's never finished outside the top 10 hardly.
And a nice guy.
Great guy, very great. We had a great relationship, and it was hard for me to break up with him when it came time for me to go to work for Zach. So, you grow close to people, and you hate to change it up, but in the end, you got to do what's best for you and your family, and you put some prayer into it and figure out what's the best decision for you, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah. So what year was it that you started working with Zach?
It was 2004.
Okay.
Yeah. So Zach had finished number 1 on the money list on the nationwide tour, and we had played in some gambling games here in town, and me and my buddy had beat him and his buddy up every time we played them, And I saw Zach at a club repair shop, and I'm like, way to go, Zach. I'm proud of you. I said, if you're looking for a caddy, let me know. I've got some friends that are experienced caddies that I think would do a good job for you. And he says, well, you're number 1 on my list. I'm like, dude, I caddy for Scott Hoke. I'm not going anywhere. And he says, well, if you change your mind, let me know. And I'm like, this guy can't beat me, and he's wanting me to leave Scott Hope to come work for him. So I went home and did a lot of research on how he played in the nationwide tour, his stats, and I said, man, he must have figured something out over the course of this year, because he was number 1 in a lot of categories.
Mm-hmm.
And Scotty Hoke was getting a little bit old and getting ready for the senior tour, and I'm like, I made the decision to go to work for Zach.
It worked out pretty good, didn't it?
It worked out pretty good. Even Hokie to this day says, you're probably one of the smartest caddies in the business, firing me to go to work for Zach.
I was going to say,
So
what
story, how I had to fire Scott Hoke. I don't know if y'all heard the story before.
No.
But, now I've got to fire somebody. And I've never fired anybody in my life, right? So I had no idea how to do it. So I called Scott up, and I said, Scott, what are you doing tomorrow? He says, I'm hitting balls at Bay Hill. I said, all right, I'm going to come watch you hit balls and chat. He says, all right, come on. So I get out to Bay Hill, and we're chit-chatting. I'm getting up enough nerve to tell him what's going on. And like 4 carts of golfers come up to watch Scott hit balls. And I'm like, well, this probably isn't a good time right now. I got to go, Scott. Like, what are you doing tomorrow? And he goes, I'll be home tomorrow. Come by the house if you want to. So I said, all right. Next day, drive over to the house, sitting around, me and him and his wife, Sally, chit-chatting. And I'm getting ready to say something. Phone rings. Scott gets up to answer the phone, and Sally goes, don't answer the phone while Damon's here. She called me Damon. That's rude. And Scott says, he don't care. He's part of the family. It's all right. I can answer the phone.
Uh,
All right, Scott, I got to go. What are you doing tomorrow? So I came by again one more day. And finally, it's just he and I sitting there, and I get up enough nerve to say, Scott, I've been approached by this kid, Zach Johnson, to caddy for him next year. What do you think I should do? So I'm thinking I can put the ball in his court. I don't actually have to say, you're fired, right? He says, well, if I were you, I wouldn't do it, Damon. He says, a lot of those guys don't turn out to be very well. And I said, yeah, but I think I'm going to do it. So yeah, I said, I'll caddy for you the first two events. We had won Doral, beat Jim Furyk in a playoff in 2003. So I said, I'll work for you at Kapalua and Sony, and I'll start working for Zach at the San Diego. I think it was San Diego. And he says, so it's like a basketball team. It's out with the old and in with the new. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, that's it. So I thought it went pretty smooth when I left. I got back home to Joy, and I said, yeah. She said, how'd it go? I said, well, it was pretty easy. I thought, it's kind of like a basketball team out with the old and in with the new. And about a month later, we get to Maui. I'm standing outside the locker room waiting for Zach to come out. Kenny Perry comes out. I'd been talking with his caddy about me leaving Scott to go to Zach. We've been talking about it. And he says, I thought you and Scott Hope broke up. I said, well, we did. He said, well, I just had lunch with him, and he has no idea y'all broke up. I'm like, what? So like 5 minutes later, Hokey comes out, and he goes, did we break up? I'm like, yeah, don't you remember? I was at your house. You said it was like a basketball team. It was out with the old and in with the new. He says, well, I must be a big dummy because I had no idea you fired me. And he says, matter of fact, if I'd known that, I wouldn't have brought you here. I'm like, it was a long story, but it's part of the business. Firing, breaking up, it's just what happens.
How often do caddies break up with their players?
Not very often. It happens, but not very often. Most of the time, they're the one doing the firing.
The dynamic between you and Scott or caddy player, I mean, you spend so much time together. Are most of the breakups awkward or hard feelings?
I wouldn't say they're hard feelings. They're awkward, though. I remember the first time we got paired with Scott Hoke in Chicago after we broke up. You kind of dread those times when you see your pairings and you're like with your old boss. It's kind of weird. So we got to about the 13th or 14th hole at Cog Hill, and Hokey hits a 5-iron, makes a hole in one, and he turns around and hands me the club like I was his caddy. I was like, no, Zach, this is your caddy over here, But his wife took it kind of hard, and it took a while for Sally to, get back to friendly terms. I caddied for Scott on an off week down in Boca Raton, and we won the tournament. And after that, Sally was, she felt like, I guess, like everything was back to normal after that. So, even when Zach and I broke up, it's like you've broken up with your girlfriend and you're out watching a movie and you see your girlfriend with another guy. You know what I mean? It's like that weird feeling. There's still some raw emotions there. I don't really know. There was no closure to it for me when Zach and I broke up. It was like he just kind of wanted to change. I didn't get a reason. Why? What did I do wrong? And he said it was the hardest decision he ever had to make. And he sat and cried afterwards. We were together 15 years, so that's about 8 years longer than my first marriage. You develop a relationship there, and it's just, and it was maybe time, because you can kind of tell when it's time. The communication's not there, It was time, but I just would like to have known why.
Let's go back just a little bit to 2007. That was a pretty good year.
That was a very good year. Yes, very good year. It was terrible, terrible weather. I don't know if y'all remember. It was cold and windy, and uh, kind of we knew going into the week that we weren't going to be able to reach the par fives because it was cold and windy, and he had a hard time reaching them anyway. So we kind of set up a game plan to where I had like a B, C, D, E pins on all the greens at the par fives. And I said, okay, Zach, we got an A pin. Where would you like your yardage to be? And he'd say 55 yards. So I said, well, how about D? He said, oh, I want 85 to that one. So we had all this written down in the yardage books, and we had a really good game plan. And I think he birdied 11 out of 16 par fives that week.
Mm.
And, we got chastised a little bit from Peter, whatever his name is, Peter Costas, for laying up at 13. We had like 205 yards, but it was, people don't realize this, the lie is like this, and you're trying to hit a 3-iron off of a lie, like standing on your head. And so we talked about it. We laid up, wedged it to like 4 feet, made it for birdie. So, it like stick that up your whatever, Peter. We made birdie anyway. And and then I think the next week I caddied for Scott and Savannah, and I had like the old pros like Tom Kite, Chip Beck, all these guys came up to me, Curtis Strange. He goes, that was a great decision to do that. I wish I had done that
Yeah.
par fives, because a couple of them kind of screwed up that 15th hole, if you don't remember. But I think the announcers, the media, they kind of put it in your head where you have to go for greens and 2 if you can. And sometimes, it's just not worth it bringing in trouble when you don't need it. And if you're a good wedge player, why not play to your strengths,
Mm-hmm.
That is a pretty incredible stat, birdieing 11 of the 16, given how precise those third shots in have to be, even if you're a good wedge player.
Right. It worked out pretty good. I've got the Zoot suit upstairs, matter of fact, and the flag stick, and the flag, and I've got it on a mannequin. And I drilled a hole in the mannequin's hand, and I put the flag stick inside the mannequin's hand. So it's up there in the balcony. If y'all want a tour, I maybe can give you one afterwards or something. But
Cool.
yeah, we got all the flags up on the walls from the wins. And
How many wins did you have with Zach?
I think it was 13.
Yeah.
The one win he had without me, I was playing in the Senior Open. Mike Bender, his coach, paid for him, and he won. And I made 33,000 that week, and it cost me like 50-something thousand not being there.
You still did okay.
Yeah, I still did all right. That was my second Senior Open. I think I made 55,000 in the first one. I finished 11th or 13th. I don't know. And so
where were those 2 Senior Opens played that you played in?
well, yeah, I played the British Senior Open the week before my first Senior Open. So I caddy all week in the Senior Open. I mean the British Open, and then have to travel all night long, go to a site to try to Monday qualify for the British Seniors. And that particular week, I had a caddy look over the course for me. One of my friends, he's from over there in England, and he did all the work on the course. I shot 66 or 67, Monday qualified, got in, played the tournament, got paired with Asayo Aoki the first 2 rounds. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Y'all remember him?
Yeah.
Made the cut. So I got to play like 4 straight days, tournament golf, and then I flew straight to Toledo, Ohio at Inverness, and that was my first senior event. So I kind of had got the rust off a little bit. And I was in 6th place with 6 holes to go. And I played those last 6 4 over, and they were really good bogeys. I was choking my brains out, just watching your name go blip, 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 blip up the leaderboard. That got me in the following one in Detroit at Indianwood, and I finished 15th in that one. And so Then I played one other one out in Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma, Oak Tree.
Oh, Oak Tree, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite an experience.
When kind of dive into the dynamic between you and the player, and you and Zach coming down the stretch at the Masters. Was it different from just a regular tour stop, given that it's a Masters, and how much is there more pressure in a major?
Yeah. Well, I think Zach approached majors in a very good way. He tried to act like it was just another week to kind of take the pressure off of him and me. Because, yes, there's a lot of pressure, trust me. It's, the last round we got paired with Vaughn Taylor, which was one of Zach's really good friends. They'd played the Hooters Tour together. And so it was a very comfortable pairing. And we started off, we birdied 2 and 3, which got us right up there in the lead, maybe tied or one back. And we're playing 4, and we had to hit 3-wood into the par 3. It was cold, and the wind was howling into us. We hit 3-wood, never left the pin on the back fringe, and we're walking down the hill, and Zach looks at me and says, "Hey, D," he says, "I'm a little bit nervous right now, but, try to keep me in the moment here." I said, "All right, Zach." I said, "Let's not look at the leaderboard the rest of the day." I said, "You just concentrate on your routine, walking slow, and give ourselves opportunities. And I'll watch the leaderboard, and I'll let you know what you need to do." And I don't know where that came from. It sounded like a good idea, right? We have to play things by ear. We never know. And you try to come up with something good to say. And that seemed like that worked pretty good. I don't know. So we got around to, we birdied 13, like I said. 14, he hits this beautiful shot to about 4 feet, and he makes that one for birdie. And I think that got us like a 2-shot lead at the time. And we're walking down to the tee, and people are going, "Come on, Zach, you can do it, you can do it." So I think he probably had an idea that he was doing pretty well. We hit our drive down the middle on 15. We lay her up. He hits the wedge just a little bit long to the back fringe, but not bad. And as we're cleaning the ball, reading our putts, we hear this huge roar. And at Augusta, you can tell when there's an eagle roar, and you can tell when there's a Tiger Woods eagle roar.
Yeah.
So we heard this thing just blow out. I mean, just so loud. And they post the score up over there. So I look up, and Zach goes, "Anything I need to know?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, you're still doing pretty good." I said, "But Tiger just made an eagle. Let's just stick to our game plan. We're still doing all right. You're up by a couple." And he 2-putted there. And 16, it was a perfect draw 6-iron for Zach, the back left pin. And when he hit the shot, I knew it was perfect, and I took off walking. I think I walked to those pine trees about 50 or 80 yards up before that ball stopped rolling. I was so excited. And it got up there, fed down, and he made that putt for birdie to put us up. And then we 3-putted 17 for bogey. Now it's iffy. We got Tiger Woods, we got Justin Rose behind us. And 18, he says, "Kind of look at the leaderboard yet?" I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead, Zach, because there's a leaderboard off to your left there." And he checked out the leaderboard, and we hit the drive down the middle. We pushed our 6-iron just a little bit, the right fringe. And I knew he was nervous, and we're looking over the shot, and he's like, "You like a 60-degree wedge?" I'm like, no, Z. We don't need that. Just hit your little 54, barely get it going, let it trickle down the hill. Made his par, and we got done, and he's emotional, starting to cry a little bit. I'm like, "Zach, we don't have time for emotions right now. We got Tiger Woods and Justin Rose behind us. Let's start preparing for a playoff. We can cry afterwards. All we want, right?" So
it's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how that unfolded. And I had one of my good friends there with me, Benny Lane, and they invited me into the Masters member ceremony afterwards. And I told Benny Lane, I said, Benny, you're in charge of the flag and the flag stick. This is what you do till we leave. He says, all right. So we both walk up to the tent where the reception is, and the lady at the front desk says, sir, you can come in, but your friend can't come in. I said, ma'am, he's in charge of the flag stick. He's not coming in. I'm not coming in. So she said, come on in. We were hobnobbing with all the members around there, having a few cocktails. And, it was one of the coolest experiences ever. They welcomed Zach as the new champion, and they unveiled this thing up on an easel. And when they unveiled it, it was a montage of different things. Zach kissing his baby, Zach kissing his wife, Zach doing this and the last hole. They had already had it framed and everything by the time they did this. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but it's one of the coolest. I get chill bumps now just thinking about it. Just one of the coolest things you ever seen in your life. And
That's awesome.
And me and my buddy stayed up. We went to some friends that were there, and we stayed up till like 3 or 4 in the morning, just taking pictures with the flag and all that. So it was a really, really good experience.
No doubt.
Of the majors, is the Masters, the back nine, the Masters still kind of overshadow the U.S. Open or the British Open kind of back nines?
Well, people ask me that question all the time. Which one is your favorite major that you won? And obviously, most people think it'd be the Masters, but mine was actually the British Open at St. Andrews, where all golf started. I think if we hadn't won at St. Andrews, it would be the Masters for me, obviously. But I mean, that's where everything started, and man, it's hard to beat that.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
Just going to ask you. One of the things you're dare I say famous for is the bird after a birdie. How did that come about?
Yeah, that's a good story. I used to play with Kenny the Hawk Harrelson at Bay Hill. I don't know if y'all remember him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a baseball player, and he would do his hawk walk after he would hit a home run. And then he played professional golf, and he would do his hawk walk when he would make a birdie or eagle or something like that. And Goosey, after I'd win a tournament, he'd say, hey, man, he says, you look like a chicken running around here with your head cut off after you win, like a little banty rooster. You're prancing all around. I said, so he kind of started calling me Chicken Man. And I'm like, well, if Goose is calling me Chicken Man, maybe I can do something like Hawk does with his hawk walk. I'll just call it the chicken walk. And so I started doing my little thing, and it just got to be kind of a funny thing. And Hawk says my walk's better than his, and I said, no, yours is better than mine. And so he sold me the rights for $1, so I bought the rights off of Hawk to do it. Some people don't like it, some people like it. It's like, what are you gonna do? I do it. I used to do it when we won. Then I started doing it for birdies, and I feel like you hear people in the crowd say, why didn't you do your thing there? You made a birdie. So then I started doing it for birdies. I don't know. It's just kind of whenever I get the mood hits me, I guess.
Yeah.
So this afternoon when you're playing, will you do it?
No, I do it for pars nowadays.
Yeah.
I stink. So I played yesterday. I think I shot even par and 3 birdies. So it's, Father Time has caught up with me. I'm 65 now. So it's no spring chicken.
Yeah.
Have you moved up a set of tees?
I moved up 1 set. So, yeah. I did break my age about a month ago. I shot 63. But I don't really know how I did it. It was mirrors, I think, Made a lot of putts.
Yeah.
Over your years caddying for Jimmy to caddying for Zach, did the job description change considerably? The original caddy saying was show up, keep up, shut up. To today, where there's so much that goes into each shot. How has it changed?
Well, I think coming from a playing background, uh, the caddies before, like me and Lance Timbrook, were like kind of the first two that were coming from a playing background to start caddying. So I think we were more into like what they're doing nowadays. I mean, if you had your choice of somebody that played golf and knew what you were feeling and the shots you were wanting to hit, wouldn't you have that option, right? And before they didn't have that option, they had guys that were maybe good amateurs players, like Fluff and those kind of guys. But the keep up, shut up, and is kind of out the tubes, I think, nowadays because, why wouldn't you have somebody that could actually help you? And I'm not saying the other guys couldn't, but you have different kind of caddies. You have people that want a caddy that's going to entertain them, tell funny jokes, and the player does the work. You've got ones that like we do that we do have a lot of input, a lot of information, and then some are just like a mixture of both. So I wasn't really into the entertainment part. I was more of the, what you need to hit, facts you need, and we're going to go off of, we're going to base our equation off what we're talking about. Put it in the computer, spit out a number and a club, and that's what we're going to do. So cross your fingers and hope you're right.
Well, I know you just got through caddying in the LPGA Q school, but you still have a bag out on the regular tour right now, correct?
I caddied 12 weeks for Frankie Sappin III.
Mm-hmm.
I've been helping him since he was in college. He went to Florida Gulf. He went to Alabama for 2 years, and then he transferred to Florida Gulf Coast, and he was just like a sponge wanting to learn about pro golf. His agent called me up and said, "Would you mind spending some time with Frankie? He just wants to learn about what he's got to do to get better." So Frankie would come up and spend the weekend with me, and we'd stay up to 1, 2, 3 in the morning just talking about golf strategy. Went out and played. I whooped his butt, out at my home course, sent him on his way. And so when he graduated and he went to tour school, and his mom caddied. He won the pre-Q. He won the first stage, second stage, went to the finals, and he calls me up. He says, "Will you come caddy for me in the finals?" I'm like, "No, I'm not coming to caddy for you. You won every stage with your mother. Take your mother. Y'all got something good going on." And so he made it. I think he finished 6th at the finals or ninth at the finals, maybe. Got his Korn Ferry card, and his mom started caddying out there, and I think she got tired after a while, so he called me up, said, "Would you come out and caddy?" So I did a few that year, did like 6 or 7 for him on the Korn Ferry. And then I did the finals with him, and he missed at the finals. And then I caddied for him when he won in Columbus on the Korn Ferry. I did like 6 or 7 again. And I was kind of trying to retire, and I didn't want to do full time anymore. So I set him up with a tour caddy, and he and I were going to split the season where we both could do about 10 or 12 events. And so that's kind of how that worked out.
Yeah, for somebody trying to retire, you're not doing a very good job of it.
Well, you'll talk to Joy, and she's ready for me to get out of the house after about a month being home, because she's used to me being gone. And I try to do things my way, and she says, "Well, I've been doing them this way for 26 years, and why would I change now?" So you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
How was the LPGA Q school? I know the weather kind of sucked, but just is there a different dynamic caddying for a female player?
Yes, very, very different. They are more into our input, it seems. I caddied for Lauren Clark, who is a member at our course, or not a member. We're at a public course, so she plays at our course, and she's straight out of Kansas. Didn't have any money, and I knew she had a lot of talent, so I just kind of donated my time and we won the pre-Q by 5 shots. She shot 19 under in 3 rounds,
Mm.
and then we went to the second stage in Venice, made it through there, and at the finals, she didn't quite play her best, but she finished 56th, which gave her some status, full status on Epson Tour. So, she's young and talented. She just, a few things she's got to work on to be a tour winner in LPGA. And that's kind of what I enjoy doing, is saying, okay, this is what you need to work on to be very successful. And I enjoy doing that with these people, these young kids.
How many guys on the mini tour did you play with that you said this guy's a can't miss and he never made it? And how many guys did you say, I can't believe this guy ended up making it on tour?
I'm not going to give any names, but most of the time, like the ones that we knew were kind of can't miss were like the Ted Trebas, the Steve Strickers, David Toms, and Steve Lowry's. Lowry was a member down here with us, and we used to go to Four Spotters together. Johnny Houston, we all three would travel to Four Spotters together, and for some reason they would take enough clothes for the whole week, and I just took clothes for one day. I'm like, finally I learned that, hey, they're making these things by planning, they're packing for the whole week and you're packing for one day. So finally I started packing for the week. I'm learning something from these guys. Those guys were just in a different level than I was. Lowry was a good buddy of mine, and he was uh, just one of the greatest ball strikers. Just hit this thing that was, he called it a draid. It'd go out there like it was going to draw, and it would just fall to the right like a fade.
A draid.
Johnny Houston, and just was not afraid of any pin. He would shoot at every pin, and he was just, when he was on, he was tough to beat.
Yeah.
Is there something about that difference between making it and not? Because, the high level guys, I mean, they've got great swings, but there's got to be something there that is the difference between making it and not. And have
Yeah.
you ever kind of wondered about what it exactly is?
It's hard to put your finger on, right? Is it self-confidence? Is it self-belief? Is it, maybe some people are faking the self-belief. Maybe they don't really feel it inside. Learning to play in front of people. I mean, that's difficult. I remember I got an exemption into Bay Hill. That's a whole other story. Arnold gave me a spot in 92, I think. And I was standing on the tee, and all of a sudden I used to hit it up over these trees and cut it back the fairway. Now there's like 1,000 people in my way. I'm like, I'm standing on the tee, like if I hit this, I'm killing somebody. You know what I mean? So it's learning to deal with that stuff, and it's I did an awful job doing that. I did better in my senior career because I'd been standing in the middle of the fairway with Tiger Woods with 10,000 people surrounding you. So I was accustomed to that feeling, even though I was caddying instead of playing, but I was used to being around a lot of people, which helped me in my later career. If I could put my finger on what it takes, I may still be playing to this day, but to be honest, I have no idea.
Well, I think that's a good place for us to end this and let Damon get to his tee time, because he wants to do the little chicken dance today, probably about 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, Lauren beat me yesterday pretty good. I think I lost $150 in all of my bets, so I got to try to get it back today.
There you go. Well, Damon, thanks again for giving us a few minutes of your time and telling some stories. We appreciate it, and maybe we can get you back on here another time soon.
Well, there's a lot of stories to tell, so just let me know.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks
Thank you,
again.
guys. Yep.
All right, we want to thank Damon Green for showing up, keeping up, and not shutting up on this week's edition of the Cart Barn podcast. Some great stories there from Jack Johnson's former caddy and about his playing days. So we appreciate him showing up again and joining us for an hour conversation. On deck next week, got another in our continuing series on the early days of the Golf Channel. John Gibbs, who was the IT guy for the Golf Channel and as it was getting off the ground, he offered some great perspective on the early chaotic days of trying to get the Golf Channel launched and on the air. So looking forward to that, Chris.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone the continued story of the Golf Channel and its origin from in Birmingham and Alabama roots. But we want to thank you again for tuning in this week. Catch us again next week for another episode of the Cart Barn Podcast.